Well, I arrived in St. Joseph's Community back about the time that they started the Second World War. And I was baptized there in the little old church. That would have been in about mid-40s, something like that. First communion was in the mid-40s. I don't remember much about the baptism because I was pretty little then. And I don't remember whether it was Father McGuire or Father McKenna, but it could have been either one of those two people that conducted the service. We lived in the country, and our means of transportation was horse and buggy in those days. And so it was quite a thing to go to church. It was kind of a big event. And we were only about 6 miles out of town. And of course, that was back in the days that you didn't have breakfast before you went to church on Sundays. But being a little kid, it didn't matter. I guess I got something to eat. It wasn't until about 1946 or somewhere in there that the big event was going to catechism classes in the summertime. Our school was a little country school just east of here, and so this was a big event, but it was something different for a little guy that's just 3 feet and a little bit tall. So anyway, I remember how different it was. The people that we met, the nuns were dressed in these black dresses, and the little guy thought that was kind of spooky. He wasn't really used to that, and the food was different, and somebody could push a switch on the wall and the lights would come on, or we could go and turn the tap and get a drink of water, and it was all different to us. And it was probably Father Crean, who was the priest, pastor at the time, when we took our classes for our First Communion. And that was back in the days when all the boys and men sat on one side of the church and the girls sat on the other side, and the ladies had to have a hat on or something similar, and we received our lessons and probably didn't really fully understand what was happening, but we went along with it, sort of a thing. And when it was communion time, we went up to the altar, and they folded the altar, the communion rail cloth over, and you held your head back and you stuck out your tongue, and the host was placed on your tongue. Not like it is today, where you receive the host, the consecrated host. So anyway, that was quite an event in those days. I remember the church was a little white building on the corner, and it was quite an event to go to church. And then through the succeeding years, they replaced that church with the other one. And I remember when that one burnt down, it was quite a thing, a big fire in Grand Prairie at the time. And of course, we were over there with the rest of the crowd, watching and looking. And I remember the fire truck sitting out in front, and they needed some fuel for one of the trucks. So there was a group of us who were busy carrying jerry cans of gasoline over to the fire truck. And I thought a little later on, that was kind of stupid, wasn't it? But it didn't explode. So, but I was told, and I think this can be verified, that when the church burnt and the tabernacle, the altar collapsed, it went down into the basement, where it was rescued later on, undamaged. And I have a sneaking suspicion that that tabernacle was given to the congregation in Manning after the new church was built, but I stand to be corrected on that one. But over the years, this church was rebuilt, and then the present church was built, and I was able to see all this coming. And St. Joseph's Parish is kind of special in many ways. It was a church that we were married in. It was a church that my wife joined after we were married. And it was a church that conducted the ceremony for my wife's burial. So it's pretty special to us. And our 4 children were all born and raised in the church, baptized there, and confirmation. And so it's kind of a special little spot. But a church is more than a building. It's a community. And over the years, after, traveling around, going to different churches and whatnot, this is kind of a special community.